Welcome to Smart Wealth with Joshua.
Your daily stock analysis and catalysts talk. Today, we're looking at Oklo.
If you find our talks useful, please consider subscribe, like, and comment underneath. Okay, so let's just dive right in. We spend so much time here talking about the AI supercycle. It's the story of the decade.
It really is.
And usually our focus is all on the brains of the operation. We talk constantly about NVIDIA chips, the models from OpenAI, all the software. But I feel like we've been completely ignoring the body, the actual physical stuff needed to keep those brains running.
That's a great way to put it. You can have the smartest model in the world, but if you can't plug it in, it's just a paperweight. And AI is getting very, very hungry.
Exactly. The food is electricity. And it feels like there's this huge flashing red light on the dashboard that everyone's just starting to notice. The bottleneck isn't compute anymore, it's power. Which brings us to Oklo. And just to be clear for everyone, this isn't your grandfather's utility company, right?
Oh, not even close. This is really Silicon Valley meeting nuclear physics head-on. To even begin to understand Oklo, you first have to grasp the sheer scale of the problem they're trying to solve.
So give us that scale. How much power are we really talking about here?
It's enormous. The projections for just AI data center consumption, we're looking at roughly 945 terawatt hours by 2030.
945. Okay, put that in context for me. What does that actually mean?
It's a tenfold growth curve from just a couple of years ago. To give you a sense of it, that's about the same as the total electricity consumption of the entire country of Japan.
Wow.
We're trying to add a whole G7 nation's worth of power demand to the grid in, less than 5 years?
That's actually terrifying.
Yeah.
But also a massive opportunity. So my question is, why can't we just build more solar farms, more wind turbines? It's cheap. We're good at it. Why the nuclear road?
It all comes down to the kind of power it is. Solar and wind are intermittent.
Right, the sun goes down.
Exactly. But an AI training model needs to run 24/7. It demands what we call baseload power. If that power even flickers, you could lose millions of dollars in a failed training run. You just can't run the future of tech on maybe.
You need a battery that never, ever turns off. And that's the classic pitch for nuclear.
It is, but traditional nuclear, the huge plants, the 10-year construction timelines, the massive cost overruns, that just doesn't work for the AI industry. You can't tell a tech CEO you'll have their power ready in 2040.
They need it yesterday.
Yeah.
Which is where Oklo comes in. When I first saw the designs for their Aurora powerhouse, I honestly thought it was a rendering for a ski lodge in Aspen.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Definitely not what people picture.
It's an A-frame. It's small. It looks sleek. There are no cooling towers.
And that visual difference is actually a hint at the engineering difference. It's a microreactor. It's designed for maybe 50 megawatts, not 1,000. The idea is they're modular. You build them in a factory and ship them.
So it's sort of the IKEA flat pack model for nuclear power.
You could say that, yeah. But the real secret sauce isn't the building, it's the reactor core itself. They're using a liquid metal fast reactor design.
Okay, let's pause there. Liquid metal fast reactor. That sounds like something out of a sci-fi movie. What does that actually mean for an investor? Why is it better?
So in a traditional reactor, you use water to cool the core. The big problem with water is that it boils at 100 degrees Celsius. When it boils, it turns to steam, which creates immense pressure.
The pressure cooker.
Exactly. That's why you need those giant, thick concrete domes to contain a potential steam explosion. Oklo uses liquid metal. The advantage there is that it can get incredibly hot without boiling, so the reactor operates at normal atmospheric pressure.
No pressure cooker.
No pressure cooker.
Yeah.
So you don't need the massive containment dome, which cuts a huge amount of the cost. But more importantly, it enables what's called walk-away safety. The physics of it are designed so that if it gets too hot, the reaction just naturally slows down and stops.
So if everything fails, it just shuts itself off.
It shuts itself off. It's passive safety, governed by physics, not active safety that needs humans to flip a switch. It's a huge selling point.
And there's one other part that just blew my mind.
The fuel.
The fuel. They run it on nuclear waste. On recycled fuel. We're taking the stuff we spent 50 years arguing about how to bury and using it as gasoline.
Precisely. It turns what was a huge liability into a massive asset. It basically makes their fuel costs incredibly low.
So great tech, cool design, uses trash for fuel. Sounds amazing.
Yeah.
But why are we talking about it right now? What's a catalyst?
The catalyst was this month, January 2026. This is when it all pivoted from a cool idea to a real business, and it all comes down to the Meta deal.
Right, the huge announcement. Oklo signed an agreement with Meta.
And we need to be really clear about this. This wasn't some flimsy memorandum of understanding.
Okay.
This was a letter of intent for a 1.2 gigawatt power campus in Ohio. And here's the key part. Meta is prepaying. They're putting down $25 million in cash right now.
So $25 million is nice, but that's not enough to buoy a nuclear plant.
No, of course not. But it's validation. It's Meta saying, we've done our homework, we believe in this tech, and we're putting cash on the table to get to the front of the line.
It takes it from being just a science project to being critical infrastructure.
Exactly. For a pre-revenue company, that cash is everything. And the location in Pike County, Ohio, that's also key.
Why there?
It's a Department of Energy site, a former uranium enrichment facility. So Oklo isn't fighting zoning boards for land. They're building on federal land that's already designated for this stuff. It's a huge strategic advantage.
It streamlines the whole process. Now, there was another piece of news, too, with a subsidiary called Atomic Alchemy.
That's right. The coolest name in energy. They got a deal with the DOE to build a pilot plant for radioisotopes.
What does that mean? What are they selling?
Well, when you run a reactor, you get byproducts. Some of those are specific medical isotopes used in things like cancer treatments. They're very valuable and often in short supply.
So it's a second revenue stream.
It's diversification. They're not just selling electricity, they're selling critical medical supplies. It's a high-margin side business.
Let's talk about that business model. They're not just selling these reactors to Meta, are they?
No, and that's a critical point. It's energy as a service. Oklo plans to build, own, and operate the plants themselves. They just sell the power to Meta under a long-term contract.
So it's a recurring revenue model,
Oh.
like software, but with atoms.
Pretty much. Meta doesn't want to become a nuclear operator. They just want reliable power. Oklo takes the operational risk and gets a steady, predictable income stream for decades.
Which is fantastic if you can get past the massive upfront cost.
Yeah.
Which brings us to the stock itself. Looking at the chart in late January 2026, I mean, it's a rocket ship.
It's gone parabolic. Up, what, 200, 300% just this year?
That's a huge move. And you have to ask, who's buying?
Well, it's not just retail hype. Institutional ownership is very high, around 85%, and the names behind it are significant.
Right, Coop.
Well, the chairman of the board is Sam Altman.
The CEO of OpenAI.
The guy building the AI is also chairing the board of the company, building the power for it. That tells you everything you need to know about how the industry sees this. And then you have Cathie Wood's ARK investment, who just increased their stake this month.
Of course. Fits right into their disruptive innovation thesis. But, okay, let's do the reality check. We can't just look at the pretty chart.
And this is the most important part for anyone looking to invest.
Hit us with it.
Oklo is still a pre-revenue company. I'm going to say that again. They are pre-revenue. They have a multi-billion-dollar valuation, and they are not yet selling a single electron of electricity.
You're buying the promise.
A very, very expensive promise. Their first project in Idaho isn't targeting commercial operation until 2027. The big Meta site in Ohio isn't looking at full capacity until the 2030s.
And 2027 is an eternity in the stock market.
It is. And that gap between the hype today and the revenue years from now, that's where all the risk is.
Okay, so let's game out the bear case. What's the biggest thing that could go wrong?
Execution risk. It's the monster in the room. The nuclear industry is famous for delays and cost overruns. It's almost expected.
And the regulators, the NRC, they aren't exactly known for moving fast.
They are methodical, and they should be, but they have very little experience licensing this specific type of new reactor. A request for more data, a design change. That 2027 date could easily slip to 2028 or 2029.
And if that date slips, the stock gets crushed.
At this valuation, absolutely. You are priced for perfection right now. Any bad news will be punished. We also saw some insider selling. The CEO sold about $18 million worth of shares.
How do you read that?
You know, it could just be smart diversification after a 300% run-up. But it's a signal you can't ignore. It makes people nervous.
And the volatility is just insane. This thing moves 10-15% in a single day.
This is a high beta growth play. This is not a dividend stock you buy and forget about. You have to be ready for the ride.
Looking at the chart, we're trading in the high 90s.
Yeah, we're bumping right up against that big psychological $100 mark. That's a huge wall of resistance.
And on the downside, where's the support?
It seems to be pretty strong in that $70 to $80 range. On pullbacks, the buyers have been stepping in right there.
What are the Wall Street analysts saying?
The consensus target is right around $102, so basically where we are now. But you have the Super Bowls, like Barclays, with targets up around $146.
And their thesis is that Meta is just the first domino to fall.
Exactly. If Google or Amazon or Microsoft announce a similar deal, this stock reprices overnight. It creates a literal nuclear arms race for power.
Okay, so let's bring it all together. For the person listening, trying to figure out what to do, what's the verdict?
Look, this is an asymmetric bet. You're not buying a boring utility. You're buying an option on the future of energy for AI.
A VC-style bet in the public markets.
That's it exactly. So my
Mhm.
take is this. If you get in, it has to be a multi-year hold, 3 to 5 years minimum. You have to be willing to ride out the delays and the scary headlines without panicking.
You're buying the 2030 grid, not next quarter's results.
You are. If you fundamentally believe AI's energy needs are going to explode and that renewables can't meet that demand alone, then Oklo is one of the purest ways to play that thesis.
It's definitely not for the faint of heart. Before we sign off, I just want to leave you with one final thought that's been rattling around in my head.
Go for it.
For the last 50 years, we've been absolutely terrified of nuclear waste. It's been this unsolvable problem. We spent billions trying to figure out how to bury it. But if this technology really works at scale, that waste isn't garbage anymore.
It becomes a strategic fuel reserve.
Exactly, it becomes a gold mine. What if the very thing we were so desperate to get rid of is actually the key that unlocks the next stage of human progress with AI? It's a wild, poetic twist. We've been sitting on the battery for the future this whole time.
It would be the ultimate irony, turning our biggest liability into our greatest asset.
Thanks for tuning in to this analysis of Oklo. We hope it helps you navigate the chaos of the market.
See you next time.